Our topic for today is which short stories will leave you breathless? This is a super popular answer that someone posted without revealing their identity. Okay, I gotta say, the majority of these answers are not good. I see fables, parables, synopses of individual stories, but no real solid answer. However, if you feel satisfied with the previous answers, then just ignore my rant. That said, I devoted a huge portion of my life to the short story and feel I can do better. This is a broad question, and to narrow it down I'm going the traditional American route and examine the Western canon. This won't be in depth, but hell, let's just get started. For modern short stories, let's look at the giants of modern literature, not modern as in today, that'd be contemporary, but the point in time when literature shifted to the modern era, the late 1800s to early 1900s. Now, there are a crap ton of authors all over, but let me boil it down arbitrarily to two: Franz Kafka and James Joyce. Franz Kafka's most well-known and most often anthologized and assigned story is Metamorphosis. It's a very old story and the language has become a bit dated, but it is a significant point in modernist fiction. Kafka essentially wrote a science fiction allegory: a man turns into a giant bug/cockroach. James Joyce's Araby will put you on the train to contemporary fiction where characters change internally, Kafka's changed externally, stories aren't so fantastic, and the real conflict lies within and not without. It's literally about a kid with a crush realizing how cruel the world is. It's deceptively simple. You'll read it and be a little irritated. I just read that? But it will stay with you and you'll recall the characters' feelings and identify them as your own. And when you realize that prior to this story, this sort of self-examination was non-existent in literature, you'll probably feel better about the story. Now let's move on quickly to Willa Cather, the incomparable crux of Great Plains literature, and Paul's Case, which is significant in its focus on psychological disorder again. Once you note that you're seeing a real-time injection of Freudian psychology, new at the time, into literature, and that these were totally new ideas to the public, the story is hard to let go. American Southern fiction includes a rich world of short stories. William Faulkner wrote the wonderfully dark A Rose for Emily. Flannery O'Connor doesn't have a bad short story, but The Good Man is hard to find, features a dark wit that, is more witty than dark, though obviously in context it would have been the other way around. O'Connor really does it for me. I'd recommend Enoch Emery and the Gorilla, Good Country People, Geranium, and its later revision, Judgment Day. Accidentally, I've skipped ahead to the 1960s, which is no longer modernist. This is technically the postmodernist era, in which a lot of literature went the way of art. Pop culture became a big influence on literature. Warhol hung out with Norman Mailer and even commented on the feud between Mailer and Vidal by saying, "I worry that I'll never be punched by normal Mailer," or something to that effect. Such was the cool of literature at the time. Contrast this cool with the South. At the time it was still in modernist mode and was in the middle of heated racial clash. Richard writes, "The Man Who Was Almost a Man" feels like it's of the modernist era, but it was published in 1961, which went a long way to showing how culturally behind the South was, not that Wright was behind, but that he exposed the South's lagging culture to a huge reading public. Well, let's just stay postmodern and move to contemporary. John Updike's N.P. is like Joyce's Araby, but for a new generation. That Updike made a living off exposing the lives of middle-class America, and their convoluted nuances will drive you crazy because it gives you a glimpse into the generation that begot you. Either your parents or your grandparents. And then you get to have real fun with stories like the somewhat spooky Where Are You Going? Where Have You Been? By Joyce Carol Oates, and the deeply personal world of Philip Roth, which includes so many stories, but perhaps the best introduction would be The Conversion of the Jews. There are so many good stories, but if you want something fun, thought-provoking, mildly sad and dark, a couple of my personal favorites. What You Paw and I Will Redeem, by Sherman Alexie. Premium Harmony, by Stephen King. Yes, that's Stephen King. Now, I'm really running out of time and probably boring you, so let me end by saying that I hope my enthusiasm for the short story came through. There are so many journals, chapbooks, and anthologies out there that really the world of short stories is different to every single reader. My mental collection will be much different from yours, and our tastes will undoubtedly vary. Maybe you'll hate all these, Maybe you really just wanted some super short anecdotes, which can be short stories, but I'm going to be jerk and say if that's what you wanted, you asked for the wrong thing. A good story is one that becomes part of you. Like, seriously a part of you. You speak a line to yourself in the shower years after you read it. You can close your eyes and recall a passage, or the image that a passage created in your mind like it's your memory. A good story is forever, and good stories are waiting to be unearthed. That's why we anthologize them.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe.